Hey everybody, welcome back to Jersey First TV and the Nader narrative. Does everyone remember that infamous interview with Governor Murphy when he said, if taxes are your issue, then New Jersey may not be your state? Really, Governor? I mean, that couldn't be more true with the recent results of a survey that indicated we are dead last in the category of business taxes. So taxes, taxes, taxes. Huge issue in New Jersey. No surprise to most of you who live here. However, you may want to look under the surface a little bit and understand why this hurts us so much in areas you probably haven't thought about. We're going to focus on business taxes today. And if you turn that off and think, I don't own a business, so whatever, don't do that. Listen to this because it affects your daily life. It really does. It affects you as a citizen of New Jersey, as someone who shops, purchases, does business with these corporations, works for them. It has an impact on the entire state, and it's an issue that we need to address. So joining me today are the two perfect people to talk about this. We have Rosemary Becchi and Assemblywoman Vicky Flynn. And as you guys know, Vicky is Assemblyperson who has been serving faithfully this past year, and we're so thrilled to have her. And Rosemary Becchi, founder of Jersey First, as well as a tax genius, lawyer, and advocate for so many great issues through Jersey First and Truth in Numbers. So anyway, welcome to both of you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm going to start actually, Rosemary, with you. So we've got a recent survey coming out about the tax structure in New Jersey. How did we do?
Oh, we did horrible, Elizabeth. We finished dead last. And look, this survey that's put out by the Tax Foundation is an annual survey that's done. And this isn't the first time we found ourselves in dead last. We repeatedly find ourselves there. And the really interesting thing, and you've put it up here, is what the Tax Foundation does is they not only look at the corporate rate, but they look at the entire business environment. So they're looking at individual taxes, right? Because if you're going to attract people to come to New Jersey and work in New Jersey, you need low rates for individuals. It looks at sales tax, it looks at property tax, and also unemployment insurance tax. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's about affordability and creating an environment for your employees to come work in New Jersey, and to live here and to prosper here. And we continue again to finish dead last on this survey.
So frustrating. I mean, there's so many great things about New Jersey that we rank so high in, and it's frustrating to see us to be being dead last. Assemblywoman, when we look at this survey and these results, and by the way, this was done by the Tax Foundation, and it's called the 2023 State Business Tax Climate Index. And Rosemary talked about some of the things that are measured. When you look at this chart that we're showing, I think a lot of us are not surprised by some of this, especially not property taxes, because if you live in New Jersey, you deal with that reality and you understand it's one of the most expensive places to live in the country. But you have a particular concern about the corporate taxes. And in fact, you have introduced a bill to address that. Tell us about that bill.
Sure. So anytime, because we are faced with these type of numbers that we see all the time, and we see the numbers that Rosemary puts up, but we also talk to the people in our districts and all over the state about this. And the big complaint that we get from the business community is that it's simply unaffordable and uncompetitive to operate a business in this state. So every opportunity we are looking for ways in which we could lower those taxes. So the one bill that we're talking about today is A4907, which will temporarily lower the corporate business tax rate and eliminate the corporate business surtax. So what we're trying to do is lower the tax so that we can be more competitive with our neighboring states. And one of the things that inspired me to look at these opportunities was based upon my interaction in Ireland with a legislative group. We all went over there in April, both Republicans and Democrats, and we met with so many people in Ireland. And it was visibly remarkable the way in which they were able to bounce back from the pandemic in a business way. They had nearly like no unemployment. And it's really, I think, tied to the fact that Ireland has a very low corporate tax rate, the lowest in Europe. So there's so many businesses there trying to open up their businesses because it's such a business-friendly country. And in a lot of ways, Ireland's with highly educated workforce and the numbers and the population rates kind of resembles New Jersey's. So I think we have a lot to learn there. So like I said, I was inspired by that trip to kind of utilize those type of corporate business-friendly policies that we are seeing in Ireland to be here in New Jersey. So that's why Jerry Schaffenberg and I introduced this legislation.
Absolutely. You just introduced it in the beginning of December. And Rosemary, when we let's look at the map here for a moment. Again, here's a good visual of 10 worst business tax climates, 10 best. So there are a lot of aspects to why it should matter. Why would someone care? First of all, how easy would it be if I owned a business for me to just pop on over to Pennsylvania? So Rosemary, how does this affect the everyday person in terms of the businesses that stay or leave in New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, look, businesses are making those decisions every single day about where, to locate their business, where to open new factories, new places, and what we continue to see is a migration out of New Jersey, and you just pointed out Pennsylvania, which is working very hard at lowering their rate, and has actually recently passed legislation to begin that path of lowering their corporate tax rate. And again, you're going to easily see businesses start to migrate towards those states where it's lower taxes, and not only the corporate tax, but also for individuals, for their employees and folks like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at this map, I do recall also Governor Murphy, one of his dreams is to become the California of the East Coast. He appears to be succeeding in that. As you see here visually, we are in the same category, which I don't think anyone would agree is a good thing. Vicky, when we think about corporations, I think sometimes people think, well, that's not me. That doesn't affect me. What does it have to do with me? I don't own a business. Talk about really the breadth of the effect of having the highest corporate tax rate from not only the standpoint of the big businesses that employ, right, that employ thousands that are leaving the state or not coming here, but also the individual small business owners. How does this impact everyone?
Yeah, I mean, as a small business owner, I am myself as a law firm, my own lawyer. I'm a law firm. Yeah. So Great. It impacts me, my bottom line. So I'm like many of the young, there's all these businesses owned by women. They're usually owned by small businesses. And that's where the entrepreneurial spirit is. And we are thwarting it by having and putting these large tax burdens right on them. You can never get ahead. That's what it feels like as a small business owner. It's just difficult where you're just treading water. And I don't think we want to have that type of economy here. And why couldn't you then go and tread water in North Carolina? When I met with the manufacturing caucus, I mean, they gave me so many examples of how businesses outside, Pennsylvania being one of them, but North Carolina, they have like a whole fact sheet, front and back, very simple, that demonstrates not only can you expand your business easier here in our state, and here's why, but if you want to be a teacher or whatever, you're going to get paid better here, or you're going to get paid about the same again in New Jersey, and it's just less taxes. So it all works together, it all coordinates. To your point, Elizabeth, we don't want to be the California of the East Coast, and now we are. So from a business perspective, and announcing things like, it's great that Netflix is coming here, but who knows how long Netflix is going to want to stay here if they're not going to have a friendly business community, place to which their people want to work. So we got a lot of work to do. And like I said, it impacts, we look at the numbers, we look at the charts, they're sobering to all of us, but it impacts the people, the small business. I mean, most of our state is made up of small business owners, which kind of
Yeah.
makes New Jersey unique in that way. But
Mhm.
we are really treading water is the best way, and everyone is right now trying to tread water. And we really need to give them an opportunity to get ahead. And especially coming out of the pandemic, I don't understand why that was not a priority, was to develop a business culture in which people can recover and get ahead.
Well, we lost a third of our businesses during the pandemic and are still losing them. I hear stories every day of businesses that were trying to hold on and are now going under. There's this sort of effect that's going into 2023. Rosemary, when we talk about businesses, it's from the big all the way down to the small. The big businesses leaving, that's a lot of employment. Also, those who stay, we definitely have to look at higher prices. So as a consumer, I'm paying more because they're going to obviously find a way to transition this cost and give it to me. As a small business owner, the lack of innovation and a lack of people starting new businesses really means that it detracts from the business in climate in this state, as well as really the tax base overall, because ultimately, even though you have higher taxes, if you're losing revenue, there's math. So that math doesn't work. So Rosemary, why is this not, and I'm going to ask Vicky this as well, obviously, but why is this not a bipartisan issue? How has this become actually partisan when we're talking about quality of life?
Oh, to me, it should be a very bipartisan issue. I mean, we raise Netflix. Like, it's wonderful that they are coming to New Jersey. It's a great opportunity, but we need to find a way to keep all those people who are working for Netflix here, right? And living here and using local businesses and things like that. And what I fear is going to happen is people are going to come in, make a movie, and get out. And that's not what we want, right? We want people that are going to be here and stay here and build businesses and families and communities here in New Jersey. I mean, it's a wonderful place to raise a family and a wonderful place to be. And we have all sorts of great, wonderful natural resources and things. And so it really should be a bipartisan issue because it means about, the more people we have here and the more businesses we have here, again, we grow our communities, we grow the arts, we grow our schools, and it only makes us stronger. So it really should be a bipartisan issue to me.
Yeah, it's frustrating that it's not. And Vicky, as you look at your partners there in Trenton, and you guys introduced this bill, you've obviously been trying to talk to as many people as possible to come on and sponsor it with you. What has the response been from across the aisle?
Well, they were somehow distracted by their last group of bill packages that they had to push through. So, but I do believe some of our colleagues on across the aisle do agree with us. I do believe that, when we are at these manufacturing caucus events, business events, they're hearing the same information we're hearing and we're responding to, Jerry and myself, as well as my other colleagues in the caucus. So they're hearing the same thing. I think this legislation is something they should, I don't care if they take me and Jerry's name off it and slap their names on it. I always say that to them. I really don't care. I want good policy dictating how we run this state. And so we put the ideas out there, we talk to them, and they can take them. Some of them, right now they're doing it out of my car theft legislation. I don't care. I want people to feel safe in their homes with their cars. And but I also, so we are talking with them. We hopefully, with an election coming up, I think they're hearing the same things we're hearing from their constituents. So I think if we could really focus them on this issue, it could be a campaign, something that we could work together on that would help them with their campaign, but it helps our businesses, and that's fine. We don't mind being the party of ideas. We are the party of ideas. I always say that.
Yes.
Take my ideas and run with them. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, the party of good ideas. Right. And this is something that when the people of New Jersey understand how it will change their life for the better, they'll get behind it. It's an education issue. Rosemary, as a tax lawyer,
Yes.
you understand economics better than most people from the vantage point, especially of taxes. This is the ongoing debate we've had for years. And a lot of times I think of Reagan when it comes to supply side economics. But this idea that you keep taxing businesses and taxing them and not really understanding the reality of the math, that eventually that means your tax base will erode. And I feel like if people understood that better, there would be a reality here that the other side isn't embracing, even though it's just numbers, isn't it, Rosemary? I mean, the math is the math.
Yeah, and it's a super simple idea, right? The higher the taxes are, the less businesses have to put back into the business. And when you're putting money back into the business, it means you're paying people more. It means you're spending more on equipment and expanding your business. Like, it's a super simple concept, right? You know, rather than giving money to government, you're keeping it in the business, and you're potentially and hopefully expanding that business and expanding things for your workforce and you know, enabling them to do bigger and better things as well. Again, it's a super simple concept out there, and you know, we need to really educate people about that and really talk about that, because you know, when people have more money in their pocket to spend, right, then they're going to spend it at their local businesses, right? And rather than handing it to the government, which means people have less money to spend. So.
Yeah, it's that age-old argument. But again, as I say, you know, I don't know why we argue about math. I mean, we can prove that this happens. And as you say, people have more income, but also businesses, you think of them as having more income. What do they do with that? They look to reinvest. Vicky, I think right now there is a sense in the nation, hopefully understanding more and more that this overspending is ridiculous. So you look at the omnibus bill and people's reaction to that, and there's a lot of anger over that, this spending. When we come to New Jersey, are you seeing this as well? Because the only thing I could say, and to argue for the other side, if you will, well, they must want more dollars to spend, right? They're addicted to the spending. Are we seeing a lot of spending bills come through? Is this just furthering that addiction?
Yes, I mean, we definitely see that. And they really always talk about the fact, like, let me pull one back one. We have all this funding that we got from the government. New Jersey finally hit somewhat of a jackpot in federal funding. We never get federal funding. We send all our money to DC and we really don't see a return. We got some return on our investment to do pandemic recovery, and it's not being spent. How frightening is that? And the reason we hear that is like, well, they overshot on how much money they were going to collect in taxes last year, so they're okay with doing that. And then they raised the budget beyond anyone's extraordinary understandings and beliefs. So it's like, what are we doing? Yes, they are addicted to spending. And yes, I think our message is coming through, and I think that people see it, because while government collected all of these taxes and is not needing to apparently use the federal dollars that we finally returned to us by DC, everyone's hurting. It costs more. I'm sure everyone went through this Christmas season and said, what did I buy? I didn't get the same amount of gifts for my kids every year. Christmas and New Year's dinner cost me a small fortune. What did I get? That's when people start really waking up. You know, the gas tax, but the cost of gas really woke people up. It takes those type of things for people to wake up, to allow us that opportunity, like you and Rosemary both talk about, is educating the public, because I don't think they can really grasp why this really matters, the corporate taxes.
Right.
I'm thankful, Elizabeth, and to you both, you and Rosemary, for doing the piece. And I think people are you're giving us an ability to convey this information to the public, but the press isn't talking about it.
No.
So that's the other piece that's missing. How do we get this to people? Every message that we have we're better on business, we're better on educational issues, we're better on these ideas, on public safety. How do we get that information? You guys have done the good work to allow us to be able to convey that over the next 12 months or 11. So in November, maybe we get a majority, and then when we have the majority, we can really implement all these ideas.
Rosemary, go ahead.
Assemblywoman, you raise a great point, because at the end of the day, it's about affordability. And in New Jersey, it just gets worse. And you can't tell me there isn't every single family in this state didn't stop and think about how they were spending money this Christmas. I know we did. We had lots of conversations. We made choices about what we did and didn't do. Things we did in the past, we didn't do because the cost. I remember being just stunned at buying a Christmas tree this year. Outrageously expensive, and families can't afford it. And the disappointing thing here in New Jersey is that there are other states that have put that pandemic and COVID money to good use and have actually lowered, corporate rates or
Right.
Individual rates across the country. And we haven't even talked about doing that. Our governor hasn't said anything about that. And it's, that is a huge mistake.
It's amazing what we don't know here in New Jersey, as in other states live differently, right? And we do need to educate, to your point, Vicky. We do need to continue to do that. And Jersey First, I think, is well suited and will continue to be committed to that. But, you have to have people understand the long-term impact. As Rosemary, as you said, other places are dropping their rates. Pennsylvania is doing that, and their governor called it a game changer. They're dropping the corporate rate. If a business leaves New Jersey for Pennsylvania, that business doesn't come back. It doesn't come back in 5 years when we finally have a Republican governor, maybe, and control in Trenton, where the common sense actually starts to reign. Those businesses generally leave and they don't come back. So Rosemary, you talk about eroding our lifestyle here. This isn't something you recover from quickly. So Murphy is in control for a little bit longer. Vicky, as you say, I think 23 is our game changer, right? This is where we educate people and they see that the good ideas of common sense need to reign. One last point from each of you to our audience, just give them a little bit of hope and a little bit of something to do. We like action. So tell them what they should do to further and support these good ideas. Vicky, we'll start with you.
Well, I've had a year under my belt now, and I do believe contacting your local legislators, even the entirety of us all, it does work. I'm sorry, but I do believe that does get to them. If people are calling their offices, sending emails, even making sure to go to an event. If they're at a ribbon cutting in your community, go to them and chat with them. They will talk to you. Go to the local council meetings where right now there's a reorg. There's an assembly person, there's a state senator. They're all over the state right now. Go and visit with them and talk to them. There's those opportunities where you should go and talk to your legislator and tell them they have to change, because otherwise you or your family are going to want to move out of New Jersey. And that's not what they want to hear. At the bottom, I don't think our legislature wants this to be happening. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever you lean in other these issues on the business climate issues, I think we can all come to an agreement and work together. So please do that. That's what I'll say it works.
It works. It's not there's nothing new here. It's the same old thing. Reach out and speak up and let your voice be heard.
Retail politics, Elizabeth.
It's true. It's true. And it does work. And we've seen it work. We can point to examples. So we need people to not feel as though they're alone, because you're not alone, but each of you is needed. Mm-hmm. Rosemary, just one last word to everybody to get them to step out and do something.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's all about making sure your voice is heard. Join us at Jersey First. Go to our website, sign the pledge. The pledge says you'll put New Jersey first, and join the movement. This is about making sure that our voices are being heard. So it's just that simple. And it's jersey1st.org.
Absolutely. And make sure you guys go to that website, be part of something bigger, because we are making change. And Vicky, as it relates to the bill itself, people can go ahead and reach out and let their assembly people know. And I don't know if there's a Senate version yet, but we want you to support this bill. You guys will be in closing session in January and starting a new session, right? So you will be reintroducing this? Okay, great.
Yeah, so
All right.
we're going in next week and we'll make sure everyone hears about it. I'll report back about our conversation. And like I said, when I talk to my Democratic colleagues, I remind them about Ireland and what they saw for their own eyes.
That's great.
It really was. It was visible. You could sit on a park bench and see how that economy, and you could hear it humming. And that's because of that corporate tax rate. So
I love it. All right. Very important issue. Thank you to both of you for everything that you're doing. We appreciate you. Happy New Year. And to everybody listening, reach out, do something, speak up, jerseyfirst.org. And also remember the bill number, which may change. The number may change in the new session. Doesn't matter. It's about lowering the corporate tax rate. Reach out to your assembly person, reach out to your senator, let them know you care about this. They will pay attention. Thank you to both of you. And to my audience, guys, we'll see you next week.